Good afternoon, and welcome to our Tuesday Talks webinar. My name is Susan Brown, the Associate Director of Parent and Family Programs. It is our pleasure to be hosting this afternoon's webinar, College of Social Science and Humanities. This afternoon, you'll be hearing from Laura Green, Associate Dean for Teaching, Learning, and Experiential Education, and Mary Mello, Assistant Dean for Undergraduate Academic Affairs for the College of Social Sciences and Humanities. They will be doing a presentation, and then following their presentation, we will take your questions, which you can type into the Q&A on the right-hand side of the plot. So I want to welcome Laura and Mary. Thank you so much for taking time out to spend this afternoon with us to talk with our parents. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Susan. So you're listening right now to Laura Green, and in a little bit I will also turn things over to my colleague Mary Mello. I just wanted to mention that in addition to being the Associate Dean, etc., I am also a professor in the Departments of English and of Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies, so I'm also happy to answer questions about those programs as well. So today we're just going to be taking you through a few college highlights, some new courses and programs that we're particularly excited about, some of the co-op opportunities that your child may be engaged with, some of the academic resources, and Mary Mello will talk about the co-op opportunities and the academic resources that are available, and then some student engagement, what students are doing on campus, a quick reminder of some important dates and events. So we wanted to start by highlighting just a couple of the really wonderful faculty that your child may be encountering. We wanted to highlight some different areas of the curriculum in the College of Social Science and Humanities. So the first person I wanted to introduce, whom you see on your screen, is Michael Stone. Michael Stone teaches in economics, and the reason we particularly wanted to highlight him is that we have many, many economics majors. It is our biggest major. It is also a major that is really challenging. And one of the important things that students say about Professor Stone, and you'll see this in the last bullet point on your screen, is that he creates dynamic learning environments and a spirit of collective learning. So we're really excited about having dynamic instructors like Michael Stone in our biggest major. Then I wanted to follow up with a major and a colleague very dear to my heart. Nicole Aljo is Associate Professor of English, my home department, and African American Studies, and she teaches a variety of really interesting classes on early American literature, on post-colonial literature. She teaches a class on Bostonian literature where students go out into the neighborhoods and learn about Boston and write about Boston. She teaches African American literature going way back to the 17th century, and she also engages students with her in digital humanities projects. What does that mean, you might well ask? For example, she has been making an electronic archive of early Caribbean literature, so slave narratives and other literature from the Caribbean of the 17th and 18th centuries, taking old archives, old papers, and making them digitally available, and students work with her on those projects and projects like that. So again, really engaged, dynamic, experiential teaching that we're very pleased to have in the college. We also have some new courses and programs that I wanted to highlight. Some of you will probably recognize immediately the iconic Seattle Space Needle there and wonder what Seattle is doing in this presentation. I wanted to highlight a special program that we have developed for this summer, so new term, summer 2018, and new term is the classes that students can take in summer one to get them ahead on their major requirements and on other avenues that they want to explore. We will be running one in Seattle called The Future of Cities, Cultural Resilience and Environmental Sustainability, where students will be studying at our Seattle campus and have many opportunities to work with environmentalists and other kinds of people who are active in imagining the city of the future. Back on campus, also in new term, we have a wonderful course coming from my colleague, Professor Chris Basso, who's in the School of Public Policy and the Department of Political Science, and he specializes in sort of the the politics of food and sustainability, and he is going to be teaching a course called Food in Contemporary Context, where students will this summer be meeting with chefs and with people who work in sustainable food production, agriculture, community food supply, and all kinds of really interesting people. So those are just some of the really interesting courses we run over the summer. I also wanted to feature the course called Love and Hate because it's a course I happen to know a lot about. I am an instructor in it. We are teaching it this semester, the spring semester, for the third time, and it is a really unusual course in that it is both interdisciplinary. I teach it with a colleague in criminology and criminal justice, and also most years with a colleague in the Department of Psychology, and it is offered entirely online. And this is really a wonderful resource even for students who may be actually on campus, because it makes their schedules a lot more flexible to be able to take one online course or different online courses over the course of their career. And we also developed this course as a course that addresses some of the really big questions, love and hate, that are current in society right now. We have many other new courses and programs, and I just wanted to highlight for you, we can come back to this if you're interested, the fact that the College of Social Sciences and Humanities has a number of combined majors with computer and information science. This is unusual. You won't see it everywhere. Combined majors are what they sound like. They are two majors that have been carefully thought out and structured together so that students can complete the requirements of both of them, integrate the skills and competencies from both of them, and graduate with a degree in both majors. And now I'm going to turn you over to Mary Mello to talk to you a little bit about co-op opportunities.
Thank you, Laura. Hello, everyone. I wanted to give you some sort of vital stats about co-op in the social sciences and humanities because we often get questions about that. So I want you to know that 90% of all CSSH students complete a co-op by the time they graduate. They can complete between 1 and 3 co-ops. Most students do 2 co-ops. That's the norm now. 13% of our students, our student body is pretty internationally inclined. Most of them want to travel abroad and do good for the world. So we have 13% of our students typically go on a global co-op in a year, and that's twice the percentage of students in the university that go on global co-ops. About 12% of our CSSH students also go on out-of-state co-ops. Statistics below are just to show you the overall numbers of students, social sciences and humanities students who go on co-op in a typical co-op cycle. I also wanted you to know that just in social sciences and humanities, we work with 250 employers, and we have about 500 individual co-op jobs. At the university level, there are 1,430 employers and 3,300 jobs. I'm pointing that out so that you know that students in any college can apply for a job in any other college. It has nothing to do really with the major of the student or the college that manages the job. It just has to do with whether the student is qualified for the job. Those qualifications or criteria are set by the employers. And then I want you to have a sense of some of the sample co-op placements, and these are all employers managed by social sciences and humanities. So these are broken into U.S. placements and global placements. The U.S. placements, some are standard companies that are for profit, some are public, and some are nonprofit. So TripAdvisor and Wayfair are two of our really good for-profit employers. Wayfair actually employs about almost 100 co-op students per year, which is a lot. And you can see all the different areas that students can work in. There's quite a diversity in there. Interpol and the Library of Congress and the Department of Justice, all public organizations. You've heard of Interpol. You've heard of all of those, I would suppose. We employ a lot of students in Interpol, fewer in the Library of Congress, and a lot in the Department of Justice and the AG's office in Boston and New York. And Oxfam and America, two examples of nonprofit organizations where students get really good experience. Sample global placements are for a lot of our global co-op jobs have to do with research. So the organizations that you see here
In many of them, they're either writing, research, support, doing data analysis, doing analytical research. That's really what a lot of our global placements are. Some of them are unpaid, few of them are paid, but you can see the range of places where students go. Israel, former Yugoslavia, Singapore, Australia, Scotland, and Serbia. Generally, in terms of academic resources, each student is assigned a professional academic advisor, one if they're in a single standalone major, two if they're in a combined major. And those are people whose job it is to guide your students through anything to do with policies, procedures, degree requirements, pretty much everything. They're always a good person for a student to start with if they have questions. Students also have faculty advisors in their major disciplines who can guide them more on graduate school research opportunities, more things that are really firmly in the discipline. And they all have a co-op coordinator as well, those who participate in co-op, and most students do. Co-op coordinator who works with students from preparing them to go on co-op, talking to them and staying in touch with them through co-op, and helping them to reflect on their jobs once they return from co-op.
Great. Thank you, Mary. And before I pick back up again, this is Laura again, I just wanted to really give a shout out to two of the groups of people that Mary just mentioned, our professional academic advisors and our co-op coordinators, both groups that work really closely with our undergraduates, and both of whom are fantastic. I'm pretty sure there's not another college in this university or another university in this country that has advisors as good as the ones that it's been my privilege to work with. And so I just want to emphasize that although we provide a lot of opportunities and almost a bewildering array of opportunities for your kids, there really is a very serious support system and structure underneath that. I also, before I start to talk a little bit about the kinds of student engagement that students may be doing on campus, wanted to backtrack a little bit since Mary was mentioning global co-op and just mention some of the other kinds of global experiences that we offer students as well, because as Mary mentioned, almost all of our students want to travel abroad. Many of them travel abroad a couple of times under different guises. So we have our Dialogues of Civilization, which are 1 month full summer credit, that is to say 8 credits, 1 month full credit summer experiences that are faculty-led and that go all over the globe. We have conventional study abroad programs where students go to different universities might be the University of Cambridge or the University of Sydney or again anywhere all over the globe. And then we have the global co-ops, which are sort of the newest member of our global enterprise. So do feel free to ask more questions about those if you have them. Meanwhile, however, we do also value our students when they are right here on campus. And we just wanted to give you some examples of the kinds of activities that students can engage with on campus. There are many, many different student-run journals publishing very high-quality work overseen by and for students, such as Spectrum, which is our literary arts journal, the Global Journal, which you see a picture of, a beautiful production, and one of our newer journals. All of these are contributed to by students all over the university. Nuance, which is particularly a CSSH undergraduate research journal that was begun by some students in history. We also have students participating in Model UN, Model NATO, that kind of thing through the International Relations Council. We have almost every major has a student society, so here we've highlighted Econ Society, which as you can imagine is the economic society. But if you visit I can't remember what it's called, Student Affairs, Student Engagement, something website, on our website, you will see that there are hundreds of different kinds of activities that students can be engaged in. We also have particular leadership opportunities for students in this college. We have the Student Advisory Council, whom I've had the privilege to meet with, and these are students who indeed advise us on what they think is going well for undergraduates in the college, what their kind of, goals and dreams are. We have the CSSH ambassadors, who are some of the people who generally upper division students who reach out and spread the word about the opportunities in our college. We have peer mentors who are upper division students within majors who work within the majors with incoming students. We have circle mentors. I have to tell you, I do not know what those are. Mary?
Those are the peer mentors specifically for international students. Not all of the
Great.
circle mentors are international, but they're all either international students or students interested in engaging with international students.
That's great because often international students have slightly different needs
Right.
or concerns and really need a very clear pathway. And so this is one of the ways we're trying to provide that. We do also have someone in the advising office who works specifically with international students. And finally, students can get involved, again, this is usually upper division students, as teaching assistants in classes that they have previously taught. That can be a wonderful opportunity to get sort of more in-depth in a class. So I wanted to leave you with some important dates and events that highlight some of these features, and one is in fact the Undergraduate Research Forum, where some of our students present research that they have done. It's another opportunity, like those journals, to really showcase student research. The proposal deadline is indeed today, so if you are the parent of a current student whom you know to be doing research, please encourage that student to submit. And there will be presentations Thursday, March 22nd from 2 to 5:30. And finally, of course, just jumping right ahead to the most exciting moment, commencement. It is always preceded generally in the week before, although there is some variation, by department-specific receptions where parents and other friends and guardians get an opportunity to meet some of the instructors and some of the advisors and some of the fellow students who have really had an influence on their child's journey through Northeastern. So those are really wonderful events. Thank you very much for listening, and we look forward to your questions.
Okay, so just so everybody knows that we are recording this presentation, so if you missed any of the slides or any of the beginning of the presentation, it will be recorded and we will email you when it is ready. If you do have a question or you think of one from Mary or Laura or myself, please feel free to email us at parents.neu.edu. So we'd be more than happy to follow up with any questions you have pertaining to your student or just general questions. So keep in mind, if you have questions, parents@neu.edu. I do want to mention that the Staying Connected slide right now is the office number and our email address. And I also wanted to keep in mind, and parents are aware of this, that we have a message board that you can join. It takes about 1 minute to sign in and create an account. And it really is an informative resource to keep you connected to the university. A lot of parents ask different types of questions about study abroad or just living on campus generally, and what happens is a lot of other parents will answer that question. So if you have not joined us on the message board, please feel free to do so. Well, I'm going to thank Laura and Mary so much for being here today. And like I said, if anyone has any follow-up questions, please email us at parents@neu.edu. The webinar is going to end shortly. At the very end, we will be sending you a brief survey to provide feedback on this afternoon's session, as well as share any future topics that we would like to have. Next Tuesday Talk is Lifetime Learning, and we will be sending an email about that, reminding you what time to join us in. So thank you again for joining us. I am going to send out the survey, and please, we really appreciate any feedback that you can provide us.